The 2020 Oscars was an absolutely stacked year when it came to the Best Picture category, and today, after finally seeing all 9 of the Best Picture nominees, I'm going to rank them from the worst to the best. So let's get right into the video. Hey everybody, my name is Dominic from Dominic Talks Movies, and today I'm going to be ranking all 9 of the 2020 Oscar Best Picture nominees from the worst to the best. And I want to preface this by saying that there were a ton of amazing films that came out in the year 2019, and the Best Picture category was some of the most competitive it has been in years. There were so many amazing films in this category, and you honestly could have made a case for any of them winning, and it is honestly such an incredible category and year for film, and I just cannot wait to rank these movies because I really do like all of them. There definitely are some that I like less than others, and I guess it might be controversial, but yeah, without further ado, let's get right into my ranking. Coming in last place, unfortunately for me, is Jojo Rabbit. Now, this is by no means a bad film. I think it is a perfectly good film, but it's not something that really exceeded my expectations all that much. I think Taika Waititi gives a pretty great job directing this film. He gives it his own little charm and spin on this World War II Nazi Germany story, and he really makes everything work. It was a great child performance by Roman Griffin Davis, and you got obviously Scarlett Johansson gives a great performance, and Taika Waititi himself gives a pretty funny performance. And honestly, overall, I really don't have all that much to say about this movie. I don't know if I'm supposed to say all that much about it, but it's a film that is decently controversial. I think a lot of people really love it, but then there's a lot of people like me who think it wasn't necessarily the strongest in a year full of amazing films. In my opinion, this is the one film that if it did win Best Picture, I would have been a little bit confused, but not necessarily disappointed. Overall, this is a film that doesn't really resonate with me all that much. Coming in 8th place is Ford v Ferrari. This was directed by James Mangold, stars Matt Damon, Christian Bale. I think this is a really cool premise for the film. If you guys know me personally, you know that I'm a big racing fan. So this whole premise, the whole concept of the film was really cool to me. I really loved the kind of dynamic between Matt Damon and Christian Bale. They worked really well off of each other. The editing was great. The racing scenes were great. But I think as a whole package, it's something that didn't really work together as well as I wanted it to. It wasn't something that I was incredibly invested in, surprisingly enough, even though I really loved the story that they told. It wasn't something that I was really invested into. I wasn't if I paused the movie or something, I probably wouldn't be in a rush to get back to it. It wasn't something that was insanely gripping. This doesn't mean by any means this is a bad film. As I said before, not even Jojo Rabbit, which is in last place, is a bad movie. But in a year full of amazing films that were nominated for Best Picture, this is a film that stood out to me as one that was kind of mediocre. It wasn't an insanely good movie, and you put it in any other year, it would probably be a decent competitor for Best Picture because it is a good movie, and other years weren't as competitive. But in a year like 2019, you can't help but notice the fact that this is quite a big step down in terms of quality compared to some of the other films. Coming in at number 7, I have Joker. Now this will trigger a lot of people. I already know there is a huge cult fan base for Joker. There's a bunch of people that thought Joker should have won Best Picture. It changed their life and whatnot. And while I really think it was a really gripping experience when I watched it in the theaters, it was really intense. It built great tension, a phenomenal performance by Joaquin Phoenix. But having said this, I haven't thought about Joker a day since I watched it in theaters. I didn't think of it one time. The only time I've ever thought about this movie was if someone else brought it up in a conversation and I decided to think about it and talk about it with them. Otherwise, on my own free thoughts, I've never thought about this movie once outside of the time I was watching it in theaters. And for me, that's something that really leaves an impact. I wanted to make this video kind of later when I've had time to marinate on most of these films. There's one film that I watched really recently, but to be honest, I feel like I don't need time to marinate on it because it's a film I can already tell will be super rewatchable and that I'm going to love the more I think about it. But with this film, I've had a lot of time to marinate with it, a lot of time to kind of get acquainted with the story and the character, and the more I think about it, honestly, the less I like it. I think coming out of this, I was a strong 4.5 out of 5, almost edging a 5 out of 5 coming out of the theater. I was in love with this movie. It really shook me. It was really crazy, tense. I absolutely loved it, but now the more that I think about it, the less I like it. It's something that really is not all that, something that doesn't stay with me. It's not super thought-provoking. It's not something that makes me look at film in a different light, because it honestly influences a lot from Martin Scorsese films like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, which I honestly prefer both of those films. So yeah, Joker is not one that's all that memorable for me, but it's still a good movie. It comes in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, I have 1917. Now this very well may be the second best or even best film, technically speaking, of this entire year, but it's one that, again, I haven't really thought about since I watched it for the first time. This film was incredibly immersive. The one shot and the cinematography in this film were absolutely stunning. My eyes were just crazy. It was watching this in the theaters was crazy. It was so cool. It was I looked at film in a completely different way. I never thought I'd see a film like this. This was before I knew one-shot films were a thing, and so I was blown away by this. The filmmaking was incredible and still is incredible. That's not taken away from the filmmaking. It's outstanding, but it's something that I don't know if it's necessarily meant to stick with you past the viewing experience. So it's obviously very immersive while you're watching the film. That's kind of a given with the one-shot film. But I don't know if this is a film that's made to kind of linger with you, because it's a story that has very clear-cut conflict and a very clear-cut resolution. And there's no ambiguity to it. It's very set in stone, which for watching the film is incredible. I would argue while you're watching a movie, I think set in stone makes the film more enjoyable to watch. Watching this movie, incredibly enjoyable. I really love it. The filmmaking is incredible, but having that little layer of ambiguity that maybe makes it a little less enjoyable while watching the film, but provides all of that outside of the film. A film like 2001, where it's incredibly made, it could be even better, but it has that layer of ambiguity. But now that's a film that you're going to think about all the time after you finish it, and that's something that I really look for in a film, and 1917 just doesn't really provide that, and that's fine, but it's just something that didn't completely resonate with me, and it's still a great film. It comes in at number 6. Coming in at my number 5 spot, I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's 9th theatrical film. Hopefully he doesn't keep his promise and makes more than 10, but at this point it's looking like that's going to be it. However, I will say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a great film, not necessarily one of his best films, but for a guy like Quentin Tarantino, one of his films that isn't necessarily his best will be a phenomenal movie still. This is incredible. This is easily his most chill and laid back movie, and I really love that about it. It's something that kind of stands out amongst the Tarantino filmography, where everything else is very in your face, action packed, really fast paced, energetic, ultra violent. This film is just pretty laid back and chill for the most part, except for that ending, which was, Jesus man, that ending was freaking crazy. But apart from that, it's a pretty chill experience with some phenomenal acting, some phenomenal writing, some amazing dialogue, and this film literally, it just works. This is a film that you turn on, you kind of just sit back, you watch it, and you kind of just stare in awe as Tarantino brings you into this world, and he just does it in such an amazing way. You know, you got Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, which give such good performances in this movie. They really bring you into 1960s Hollywood. I absolutely love this movie, and I feel like this is one that will have really good rewatch value in the future. Coming in at my number 4 spot, I have Marriage Story. This film by Noah Baumbach is the very first film from him that I watched, and it was really, really good. It is probably the most realistic movie on this list. It feels honestly just like real life. You got Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson, Laura Dern all give phenomenal performances. There's some visuals in this that are very simple but noticeable. I think this film is heavily more reliant on the performances and screenplay, which I think are definitely the standouts of this movie. They are absolutely phenomenal. They just really are realistic, some amazing dialogue, and it's just so good. It invokes so much emotion. This is a film that I was not expecting to like, and it absolutely blew me away. The emotions I felt during this were just absolutely uncanny. It was crazy how much I was emotional during this movie, how it kind of builds you to love and grow with these characters, but then kind of tear you apart from them and almost take a side, and it's really just heartbreaking, but you're kind of in awe of the filmmaking the entire way through. And this is a film that, while maybe not super rewatchable, I think it is a film that will stick with me for a long time to come. Coming in at my number 3 spot, I have The Irishman. Now, if you guys have seen my Martin Scorsese ranking, this was actually number 1, so you might have expected this to be higher up on the list, but that just shows how good of a year 2019 was for film. Someone as revered and appreciated of a filmmaker as Martin Scorsese is, the guy that I think this is his best movie, is only number 3 on a singular year, which is absolutely crazy, but that is not to take away from The Irishman, the quality of the film. It's absolutely amazing. This is a phenomenal movie. You got incredible performances across the board. Everyone gives such a great performance. This is a film where the runtime intimidated me, but going into it, it was super immersive. The story takes no breaks, but it's not super intense. It's more of a intimate, personal film. This feels like Scorsese's passion project. If you've heard him talk about this outside of the film, like in interviews, talking to other people, you can tell just by how they spent like 9 years trying to find someone to finance the film, and how he was talking with Robert De Niro and he wrote this character, and how Robert De Niro felt with it, how felt like he was made for this role. This was like his role. Everything about it is super intimate and like a complete passion project, and I was invested the entire time. This is Scorsese's most emotional film easily. There's some amazing performances, and it's just one that really resonated with me. I was invested for all 3.5 hours, I believe. It's just such an incredible movie. I cannot recommend this one enough. If the runtime was intimidating you, don't worry, it intimidated me too, but now I think it is a phenomenal film and the 3rd best in a stacked year for Best Picture. But regardless, there are still 2 films that I like slightly more. Coming in at my number 2 spot, something that may surprise you guys. It is Parasite from Bong Joon-ho. You guys have heard me praise this movie. You guys know that I love this movie and I love my foreign films. And this is an absolutely incredible film. Bong Joon-ho is a super talented filmmaker, and it really shows in this movie. He has such immense talent for storytelling and characters. Every character is likable in their own way, but flawed and nuanced, and you really root for the Kim family in this, but it's also at the same time you kind of realize what they're doing is wrong. I don't want to give any spoilers in case you haven't seen it, because this film is something that you need to go in knowing as little as possible, but just know that the filmmaking in this is absolutely incredible. It tells a great story with themes of kind of the differences in class and themes of desperation. I absolutely love this movie. It tells a great story, has some amazing themes and commentary, and it is 100% one that you should check out if you haven't seen it already. Coming in at my number 1 spot is the most recent film that I watched on this list. Call it recency bias, I don't care. It is Little Women from Greta Gerwig. I absolutely adore this film. Sue me, I'm a film bro, but I love Little Women. I don't care. This is an amazing movie. I absolutely adore this. There are incredible performances across the board. You got Emma Watson, you got Saoirse Ronan, you got Florence Pugh, you got Meryl Streep, you got Laura Dern, you got Timothée Chalamet. Like, everyone is in this movie and they're all incredible. The story is super charming. I love the way Greta Gerwig directed this. It made me feel so personally connected and invested into this story, and not to mention the acting makes this, elevates it to a whole other level. This is such an amazing, investing, and fun movie of kind of growing up, and it's almost a coming of age story, and I absolutely love that. I really related to a lot of the characters and kind of what they were feeling, and everything about this movie is just so good. I don't necessarily think it is the best movie on this list by any means, but it is definitely my favorite. I had such a good time watching this. I was thoroughly invested in the entire runtime of the film. This is one that, even if you're a guy and you think like romance and kind of this sort of period piece about women is not really your thing, I would just put down your pride, lay down your ego, and just watch this movie, because I'm someone who I consider myself to be a decently masculine person for the most part. I also was not really looking forward to watching this movie, but it really blew me away. It completely exceeded my expectations, and it's one that really kind of hit me, blindsided me. This is an amazing movie, and this is potentially even top 20 or top 30 material of all time for me. We'll see what happens, but I feel like this film's just gonna grow on me the more I watch it. Little Women, absolutely incredible film, and it is my number 1 of the 2020 Oscar Best Picture nominees. And that is going to do it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, definitely make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you are the first person to know every single time I upload a brand new video just like this one. If you guys have any video ideas for me, definitely let me know in the comments section, because I'm always looking for new video ideas. I have a couple videos planned already, and I'm going to be working on those periodically. I might do some more movie reviews. I'm definitely going to bring out some more. I'm going to bring back the film breakdown series, because I really liked making my Bicycle Thieves one, so I'm going to bring that series back for sure. And yeah, that's basically it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.